Steve and Alan's Pro Tips in a Short Time Learn a Lot.
Hey, Steve.
Hey, Alan. We've reached the end of the year, and I thought it might be nice to take a moment during this December holiday break in the action of Music Ed Insights to pop back in with a quick year-end episode.
Good idea. We kind of dropped off the face of the earth the last couple of weeks, but we got to thank our listeners for all their support this year, our insiders for their patronage, our behind the scenes staff, Jordan Coons and Rachel Braffart in particular, for all the work that they do to make things happen for us. But we love seeing people out in the wild at conferences and stuff, and they're texting us randomly or emailing us to let us know what they liked and what they think. And I just want all of you all to reach out to us to let us know what topics you like, what you don't like, ideas for future guests. We're really interested in that. But any of it, so much about what we've done with this podcast has been because of feedback from our listeners through the last 4 years.
For sure. Yes, you and I look at the listener statistics, which confirm that lots of people are listening, but that feels kind of antiseptic at times. And it is nice to hear from real humans every once in a while. So, yes, definitely echoing Alan's thoughts. Please reach out. I also thought this might be a good time for us to reflect on meaningful takeaways from guests during 2024. There were many, but I think for me, Milt Allen's episode was especially powerful. That guy simply just makes me want to be a better teacher in pretty much every way. I particularly liked our discussion on how some of the most innovative teaching that's happening right now is occurring in the most difficult settings, kind of because it has to. Some of our urban music programs simply can't run the way programs ran in the 1980s and 90s. And there are so many great teachers out there adapting their practices to deliver high quality music education to our students.
Yeah.
Did you have a particular guest or topic you enjoyed, Alan?
When it comes to enjoying the guests, a lot of them. Milt Allen, though, I mean, I don't want to pile on there too much, but that guy was great. Annie Booth, I thought was really cool. I appreciated Jenny Peters, who made us think about the ukulele in new ways. That was kind of cool.
That's right. Yeah.
But when you talk about a topic I enjoyed, that back and forth with Michael Linson about whether we're doing the right or the wrong thing for students with trauma, it's the closest that we've come, I thought, to a debate or a give and take. And it caused me to wrestle a little bit with that particular issue of how much do you accommodate and how much do you apply some tough love. And I thought that was a really interesting exchange we had. I love how gracious Michael Linson is to buy into that. And it was our most listened to episode of the year.
Yeah, go back and check out some of our old episodes, listeners. There are a few that are probably pretty specific to that time in which they were released, but a lot of them are timeless. And much like going back and reading a favorite magazine article or journal article to help you review some stuff, I've noticed when I'm going back and listening for quality control purposes, discovering things. Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. I was the one interviewing and editing. I heard that a whole bunch of times and I still forget. So, listeners, if you have some where you scroll back in our past episodes, give them another listen. It might be a nice thing to do over the break and as the upcoming year happens.
I think that of all our episodes, I think there's only one that doesn't hold up. I think all the rest of them hold up other than one. Which one is the one I'm thinking of?
That'd be the Click and Clear episode.
Yes. Yeah.
But, we tried.
It was a community service at the time.
It was. So, speaking of the upcoming year, we've already been recording some great episodes yet to be released. What are you particularly excited about, Alan?
Well, the last one we did was really cool, but Marcus Garrett is a tremendous human being. I got a lot out of that.
Yeah, he's one of the biggest names in choral music right now. He teaches at the University of North Texas, and we felt very fortunate he could join us, especially generous with his time, so much so that we have enough great content. We are going to release the interview in 2 parts. So you want to give the listeners an early Christmas gift?
You don't have to do everything. You don't have to be an expert on everything. I feel like we've heard that from other guests, but he just articulated it in a way that really resonated with me. Math teachers and history teachers often don't have to like feel the need to stay current. It's there already. Algebra is like already there. And music teachers put a lot of pressure on themselves to like learn all the new stuff. It's okay to be an expert in some things and not in others.
Yeah, the main purpose of the talk was repertoire, but that little nugget about not feeling like we have to teach or do everything really stuck with me too. And you said that we put the pressure on ourselves as teachers. I agree, but don't discount the fact we're getting pressure from everyone else too. We're getting pressure more so than ever to have diverse programming, use different genres, teach the students different things than you were taught. We are getting those messages from outside as well. And so I think the internal pressure plus all those external pressures to kind of serve all of these masters, and then hearing someone who is at the very top of his game right now saying, "Nah, you don't really need to do that. Try your best, but don't beat yourself up." So, what are you thinking about or worried about these days?
Well, I don't know, get my Christmas shopping done. Hey, you're trying to bring me down here, man? Like
Oh,
it's the holidays.
as we think about the future, what problems do you think we need to be trying to solve?
Well, you know me, I'm going to put a positive spin on this. I've been learning a lot recently about the origins of student mistrust in adults and institutions. Maybe we could elaborate on this more at another time. But there's some deep-seated reasons why students tend to mistrust adults and mistrust institutions. And a part of it is their parents do.
Yeah.
One of the speakers I attended on this topic talked about the rise of 24-hour cable news connected to this. And I thought that was a little ridiculous until he slowly and patiently explained the timeline of news used to report just the biggest stuff. But then in the late 80s, when they had to fill 24 hours a day, they started talking about anything and everything. And that led to just an awful lot of news stories about icky stuff that was happening. So we worry about stranger danger, for example, and child abductions. There has not been
the satanic panic. That was one
right,
of my
exactly
favorites from the 80s. Yeah.
Yeah. So that happened at that time, sort of at that advent of all this news coverage. So something that started to happen was mistrust of adults. Look out for adults. Look out for adults. And parents, well meaning, but just really taught their kids to not trust. And that has been pervasive. That has continued. So when I was a kid, I'm 55. I played outside a lot. I played outside places my parents had no idea where I was. I mean, everybody my age tells all day stories.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I think, I better get within earshot of the house because it's almost time to eat dinner. Now there are people who won't let their kids play in the front yard because a street goes near it. They can only play in the backyard because of that. So one thing this one speaker said was, we have spent the last 15 years overprotecting our students, our kids in the real world, and underprotecting them in the online world.
Yeah.
So we've shielded them from like play and learning that you can trust some adults and institutions, to don't trust anything, but go ahead and play with that phone and that iPad or go online. And, we all know where that can lead. And so that distrust of institutions and distrust of adults, the thing that worries me about it, to get back to your question, is that, of course, they're going to be skeptical of joining band. They're going to be skeptical of new teachers. When they go from junior high to high school, they're going to be skeptical of any teacher, any institution.
Because that's the default.
Yeah. And I mean, who are we as music educators? We are adults that are part of an institution. Two things young people don't trust by default. But the opportunity is here. And so many of our listeners know this, that if you meet students where they're at, and that's another problem, is adults are doing a bad job in general of meeting students where they're at. But meeting students where they're at means that you can become one of the few adults that students trust. And your choir program or orchestra program or music classroom can be one of the institutions that they grow to trust. And so you can become an island in your own school as a result of that. What are you thinking about?
I think we have an advantage that so many other subjects don't. It's fun. People love music inherently, but are we really using that to our full advantage? And I know that I sometimes, especially in an effort to prepare for a technically clean performance, I can forget about this and take a class that is inherently fun for the students and make it not fun. Or I remember back when I was teaching high school, I'd let some district mandate ruin my mood, and then I'd let that ruin the vibe of the music class. And I just think that there aren't a lot of advantages to being a music teacher these days with all the things we're asked to do, the amount of time and training and so forth. So I think it's very important that we capitalize on strengths we do have. So as we enter the year, I encourage listeners to keep looking for those small ways that they can build on their students' love of music that's already there. So whether it's taking part of a class to let students share their favorite music, maybe programming something fun that isn't necessarily of the utmost artistic merit, but the kids will love, or simply just reminding yourself as you enter the classroom, hey, these kids probably already love my subject more than, for example, algebra.
Oh, yeah, I think some students also love algebra. I know I do.
Totally. I agree. But don't you think music is one of those subjects that probably has the highest percentage of students who already love some aspect of it and don't need to be convinced of it?
Oh yeah, totally. As long as we meet them where they're at. So you're right. It's smart to use that to our advantage when we can. What have you been up to this fall, and what do you got coming up?
Well, the usual, quite a bit of consulting with school music programs this fall, which I very much love doing. I also did a lot of arranging and composing. I've got a few new pieces getting published in 2025, including one in the genre that I probably get asked about most often.
Ah, okay, cool. So a ballad for a jazz band to feature an alto saxophone at the grade 3 level.
Yeah, good one. No shortage of those. But believe it or not, it is a ballad, and it features the piano. Music Ed Insights insider Jeff Schmidt reached out and asked if he could commission me to write an accessible jazz band chart to feature piano in kind of a slow gospel style. There aren't many of those out there, which I think is too bad since many programs have very fine pianists sitting in their jazz bands. So that was particularly cool. The chart is entitled Scenic City, which will be published by Barnhouse this upcoming summer. What about you? What have you been up to?
Oh, professionally, I have been working with a new version of a program called Multipliers, which is based on the research that has been done on what kind of leadership traits get more out of people and what leadership traits that are well-meaning, that's an important part of this, that are well-meaning but can actually crush the soul. That's not the term the researchers use, but that's the term I use. What they call diminishing behaviors, accidental diminishing behaviors. So I've been digging into that and sharing that a lot with some of my grown-up clients. I've been reworking, as I usually do, this time of year. And winter is when I revise my youth leadership workshop. So I'm all set for the 2025 season. So that's something I've been working on. And soon we're going to release the second edition of my book on leadership. I have one for students and one for adults. This is the one for adults that we are going to release the second edition of in February. So stay tuned. You can find it on Amazon. You can find the old version on Amazon right now, and the version for student leaders as well. Just search for my name and leadership, and you'd find that. But other than that, I bake a lot of cookies this time of year, man. I bake a lot of cookies.
Probably more Chex Mix for me than cookies, but
How many batches of Chex Mix have you made so far in the last month?
well, I don't make any, but thankfully my daughter learned my mother's recipe, and we're already on batch number 2. She had to make a new giant batch for me a couple days ago.
Outstanding. Enjoy.
I will. Well, I am going to be heading out to the Midwest Clinic. Listeners, if you want to meet up for a few minutes on Wednesday afternoon or sometime on Thursday, I'll be there that entire time. So shoot me an email. I'd love to chat.
I am not going to Midwest. I should go again. But I do. I should. Why not? Anyway, sorry, everybody. I do love hearing from listeners as well. So hit me up on email over the break if you are bored. I'm not traveling much over break. I'm staying close to home. So I could carve out some time. We could even have a Zoom coffee. So let me know.
Sounds great. Have a good holiday, Alan.
Hey, you too, Steve.
Steve and Alan's Pro Tips in a short time. Learn a lot.